Hey everybody, it's me, Beth Maitland with Drama Queen Bee Quilts Studio, and I'm just having a little sit down. It's a quiet evening. I am winding down from the stresses of the day, and I've decided to put together a little holiday collage, a little last minute Christmas stitching. You can see that this is my very last piece of my crazy little thing I did at my sewing machine a month ago. I just took a square of muslin and a square of batting and a bunch of little things I found that I coffee dyed, and I sewed them all together. Things like gauze and little pieces of lace and coffee dyed muslin scraps and some diaper fabric, and I sewed them all down with my sewing machine onto squares, and then I've used those to make little holiday collages. And this is a pile of my leftover scraps, the last of them, the last of all the scraps I had from my Tilda fabrics and my companion fabrics that went with them. And so I decided to do a little collage for you this evening and tack it all down. I take the smallest scraps and I start working with them and just sort of auditioning them, laying them around. That Noel was sewn out on I found a few things that were in piles of old Christmas supplies. That was on my embroidery machine. And that's a little too big, so let's cut that down. I'm just sort of laying out the little bits and pieces, including the smallest little scraps, and finding spots for them on the base of this sort of gathered up muslin, and looking for sort of a pleasing arrangement. I use the scraps to cover the stitching. Sometimes it doesn't bother me that the stitching shows, but it seems like a good way to lay this out so I don't lose any of the gathering and the extra tea-dyed fabrics. Getting just sort of a pleasing combination, moving things around a little bit and deciding sort of on a base. The embroidery I did is a little bit too big, so I'm going to switch that out for a machine embroidered piece that I found in the pile. And then I'm just going to take construction thread and I'm going to tack down the Noel. The construction thread is thin. It's just sewing machine cotton. It's not the perlé or embroidery thread that I'm going to use shortly to embellish and Kantha stitch and tack down with color the other pieces of scraps. But I just want this Noel to be sewn down. I want to tack it down and remove some of the pins. And then I've cut out in the background, you can see that I've cut out 2 or 3 pieces of companion fabric to make Suffolk Puffs that kind of go with this. And I'm just going to tack down the Noel. It's just whip stitches that are sort of hidden because the thread is beige and it sort of matches and it's kind of blends all in to just get it tacked down and get those pins out. And so how are you guys? I hope that all of your holiday sewing is like this. Sitting down, relaxing, not a whole bunch of pressure. The deadline is obvious, but I hope that it's not overwhelming for you. And I hope that everything's going smoothly and you're finding time to enjoy yourself, but also relax during the holiday season. This year is very unusual for me. I am only going to have my daughter and her partner, her boyfriend, Michael. I'm only going to have the 2 of them on Christmas Eve. And it's a very quiet Christmas. I did my traveling last week. And I am home now for the holiday, and it's going to rain the whole week here. It's going to be really messy. And so I am sort of gearing up for a quiet holiday. I've never had one like this. So trying to find little projects and some good sewing to keep me busy and keep my mind occupied. Some good movies I've got on a playlist I'm making. And I am going to hopefully just have some quiet time and enjoy myself. And a few little things that I'm doing to gather with friends. And, we'll see how it all goes. I hope I don't go crazy. In the meantime, so I've made my little Suffolk Puff. This is raw edge, and I like to go around at the very end after the gathers are pulled in and just sort of tack it one more time around. And since this is sort of a just throw it down kind of collage, I'm going to look at this and see if I can find a pleasing place for it. And since the thread is already in it, the construction thread is already going, I'm just going to sew it down. I'm going to let's see. Yeah, that looks good. I'm going to just go in with my construction thread and not even tie off and just tack it all down, because this is a situation where it's sort of frayed edges and shabby chic and kind of loose. And as you can see, here's the machine embroidered holly. I'm just going to load up with colored thread now. This is Perle, and it's a variegated red in Christmas red. And I'm just going to tack this down while also going around the outside edge with a decorative stitch. It's just a running stitch. Everything here today is just really easy. It's running stitch or invisible stitch or Kantha stitch, which is also running stitch, and it's just putting all the elements down in a pleasing way. And I'm going to add some buttons toward the end, I think. Let's see if I have a charm, but certainly buttons will go on. I'm hoping for a big white one or a big red button for a spot or two I've got in mind. And in the meantime, I'm just doing some embellishing stitching with red that really pops and shows off the embroidery. I then am going to go around the Noel and add some red whip stitch around the Noel, just decorative whip stitch. And then I'm doing some Kantha on the ticking, the red ticking, and just sort of tacking everything down, like I said, with colored thread. I'm not even switching to embroidery floss. This is just the Perle, which is one of my favorite threads for Kantha. And this happens to be Vildani, and again, sort of a variegated Christmas red, which I just love. It's so useful, and it pops when it needs to, it blends when it needs to, and I just love it. And let's see, let's take a look at what we end up with. I'm going to add a couple more yo-yos, Suffolk Puffs, and let's see, put them around, and then I'm liking how that's all laid out. I'm liking how that's all looking. And again, shabby chic, kind of tattered, kind of rustic, and I'll put this on something. And this is the final product. Thank you for joining me. This is Beth Maitland with Drama Queen Bee Quilts. Happy holidays and happy stitching.